data or whatever. So here is the Biham Shamir fault attack. I have a cipher. I have an encryption oracle. Okay? And I have two cards. One of them is fine, one of them isn't broken, and the other one is broken. And I want to find the key out of this card. But I have a very interesting kind of fault. I have a fault attack, which is permanent, but it's kind of a crazy, it's a crazy kind of laser beam. Every time I hit the device with a laser beam, one of the bits in the key, around, I don't know which bit, gets zeroed out. So I shot the laser the first time, this one got zeroed out. I shot it the second time. This one got zeroed out the third time. This one got zeroed out. And after I shoot the laser 64 times, all of the bits are zeroed out. Of course, yeah. So every time I shoot the laser, I don't know anything. All I know that every time I shoot the laser at the device, I break it a little bit more. And of course, if I shoot my laser a lot of times, I'm going to get the device is going to be completely. Here's my yeah. So yeah, you get it. So here is an idea. How do I use this attack to recover the key? So listen up. This is an awesome attack, really fantastic attack. So I'm going to need just one single plaintext. I have two cards because I need the other card because after I break this device, it's useless. I can't use it anymore. So I actually need only one card, but after I finish the attack, it's completely broken. So I can use one. So the first thing I do is I take my plaintext. Right? Let's put this here. So I take my plaintext and I send it to the card. And then the card gives me ciphertext 0. Okay? I don't know anything about the device right now. The next thing I do is, what should I do now? What is the only thing I know how to do? Yeah, of course, yeah. I should fire my laser. So I fire my laser. And then I'm going to send the same plaintext to the device. But now the device is going to give me a different ciphertext. Right? Why is it going to give me a different ciphertext? What? The key change, right? It's a different key. Okay, I'm going to do this again. I fire this one, and then I get C2. Of course, every time I get a different ciphertext, and I do this. Well, if it was 0 before, then the plaintext, the ciphertext is going to stay the same. That's correct. If the bit is 0, it's going to stay the same. This is just similar. Yeah, it's going to stay the same, but it's fine with me. I learned that one of the bit is 0. It didn't help me a lot. So after I finish doing this, what I'm witnessing as an attacker is I shoot my laser, the ciphertext change. Shoot it again, change. Shoot. After I shoot my laser enough times, the ciphertext stops changing. Why does it stop changing? Right. So after a long time, I get this is going to be the end bits of the key. Well, I'm encrypting under the all zeros key, and I can't zero out any more bits. So even if I keep shooting my laser, the device is completely, now it's broken, it's worthless. It's, paint it in blue and throw it into this. Right? So I know after I fire my laser enough times, all the bits are going to be 0 because this is what my laser does. No, Orel, I'm not changing the encryption algorithm. I'm changing the secret key which is stored on the card. I'm zeroing out, slowly zeroing out the key. Now the key is all zeros. And now comes the genius. Now comes the genius. I'm going to get from this sequence, where is my drawing thing? I'm going to get from this sequence back to the original secret key. And how am I going to do that? So I know what is the last key I used for the encryption. What was the last key? The last key, right? The last key was all zeros. So I have, of course, I have an implementation of the device. So by Kirchhoff's, I can run it. I can encrypt my plaintext with all zeros and find out what is that. So who here wants me to convince him or her that the last key was the all zero bit, all zero key? Who wants me to convince them? Everybody is convinced? Okay, I need to convince you. So I need to convince you. So every time I fired my laser, my freaking laser, it's a freaking laser. Every time I fired my laser at the device, one of the bits of the key became zero. It might have been already zero, but now it's for sure zero. After I fired my laser 64 times, all of the bits of the key were affected by my fault attack, and they're all zero. The device is now completely broken, and the key is completely known. And I can check this because I, as an attacker, know what is the implementation, what is the encryption algorithm. I can try encrypting my plaintext under the all zeros key, and then I'm going to get this ciphertext. Right? So I know what is the key here. Now, how do I get from the key in one step to the key in the previous step? This is a genius step. So what is the difference between the key in step, let's say step 6, the last one, and the key in the previous step? What did the laser do? So the laser turned one bit from 1 to 0. How many trial encryptions do I need to perform to find out which bit got turned into 0? Or no, if it's 0, okay. If it's 0, yeah. 128. The num. If it's a 64-bit cipher, I am going to need exactly, Oel is correct, I'm going to need 64 attempts. Because what I know what was the key after the laser. I know what is the key after the laser. I don't know the location, but that's the only thing I don't know. I know that the difference between this key and the previous key is just in 1 bit. A bit which turns from 0 into, the laser turned that bit from 1 to 0. So I can run, I'm going to do 64 attempts. I'm going to try to get from C sub n to C sub n minus 1. I'm going to try flipping 1 bit and doing my trial encryption. Flipping the next bit. I'm going to get 64 trial encryptions, and one of them is definitely going to be equal to the previous ciphertext I recorded in my data structure. And this is an induction step which can teach me 1 bit of the key. Who wants me to repeat this explanation? Who wants me to repeat this explanation? I'm very happy that you're interested in the course and you want me to repeat the explanation. Thank you. So, after I finished shooting my laser, you know what? I'm just going to add another step here. So it's going to be from P to C sub n minus 1. Why is it so bigger? So P is going to C sub n minus 1. This is the before last the before last laser beam. So the last laser beam turns the key into the all zeros key. Right? So the last key, so the last key, which is, let's say call it k sub n, is the all zeros key. What is the previous key? What is k sub n minus 1? K sub n minus 1 is a key with only one bit equal to 1, and all the other bits are 0. Did I convince you that k sub n minus 1 has only one bit set to 1 and all the other ones are equal to 0? Great. So there are only let's say this is a 64-bit key, only 64 keys which are like that. And I can brute force over them. This is a very, very small set. Yeah, so Shimon is asking what if the bit was 0? So if the bit was 0, I would notice that c sub n minus 1 is equal to c sub n. I would notice this because I noticed that I shot my laser and the ciphertext didn't change. So that's even cheaper for me. Then you could be asking a more complex question. What if the laser just hits a random position, and it could be that this position was already hit before? But this is like a data structure question. This is an implementation question. It will cause you problems if you want to implement this attack, but not if you want to understand it. Yeah, it will hit all of them eventually. It will take a lot. It will take a while, but yeah. So the Biham Shamir fault attack is fantastic because it was a paper which was 3.5 pages and wasn't the only result in the paper. Fantastic. How do you know? Shimon is asking, how do I know which bit is going to flip? I don't know. I'm going to brute force over the bits, but I only have a small amount of bits. The brute forcing over the bits is so cheap compared to brute forcing over the key. Brute forcing over the bits is linear time. So I think, who commented up here? Yeah. So like I said, if I have a 128-bit key, I only need 128 encryptions to go down from the plaintext to the ciphertext, and then 128 times 128 to go the induction step in reverse, going back from the ciphertext back to the key. So yeah, freaking laser beams. That's not a very reasonable. I mean, how can I get laser beams? What are these laser beams? Maybe some, smart cards you're trying to get free TV, you can get laser beams. So, so are the smart cards this hard to? So what they're going to do is they're going to add external measures to make sure they aren't hit this way. So it could be that they're built so they're using like mechanical things that if you hit them with a laser, they're going to get so hopelessly out of shape that they're going to stop working. Another thing that what they do is, actually I've seen this, and there's a paper about it in the Moodle. The smart cards which were being hit by this, what they did was they stored the key the following. Instead of saving the key in one position in memory, they saved it 6 times, and 3 times were in regular logic, and 3 times were in inverse logic. So if your laser can only turn 1s into 0s, you can only turn 1s into 0. But if you want to do this, you have to be able to turn a 1 into 0, and at the same time turning a 0 into 1. So if your attack setup is not capable of doing that, storing the key in an inverse of the key in the memory and just checking that the bits aren't flipped is kind of a countermeasure. And actually, if you're talking about electronically erasable memory, EEPROM, it is a reasonable assumption to make that the attacker can flip bits in one direction, but cannot flip bits in the other direction. It's related to the way these things are built. I don't have time to go into it, but it's a very reasonable assumption. So Lidor is asking, I need 128 bits. Yeah, I need 128 attempts per bit, but but I only need to do this linear time. I do it 128 times 128, and I get the entire key. And now the system architect won't laugh at us. The system architect is always laughing at you. He's always laughing at you because he's this kind of guy. He laughs. He's very. very not friendly. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about something from my PhD. Isn't that cool? And this is how you use Biham Shamir fault attacks to attack something completely unrelated called SRAM puffs. And the idea of SRAM puffs is as follows. If you have an embedded device, embedded devices really need randomness. They need randomness for all sorts of secret operations. They need randomness for crypto. They need randomness for authentication. And they need also randomness to get some kind of fingerprint for themselves. They need to be, if you have a manufacturing line full of these devices, they need to be able to tell themselves apart. So some kind of researcher discovered that if you turn on the memory, the SRAM, inside this device, and you don't initialize it, the default values of the SRAM are a nice fingerprint of the device. So I have like a bunch of devices from the same manufacturing line, and I just simply turn them on, and I look what are the contents of the memory when I turn them on, and these random initial values are actually a nice fingerprint of the device. So what is the idea now? I want to get like a secret key out of my device. I turn it on, and then I read out the uninitialized memory. I do some kind of magic signal processing operation and get the key. And then I very quickly zero out all of this memory. And then I give it to the application. The application can run. It's like user-controlled memory now. And this is called intrinsic fingerprinting, because intrinsic means it's just something that you have. You don't have to build it into the device. So it's cheap, it's free, and it's wonderful. Everybody loves it. How do I attack this with the Biham Shamir fault attack? So remember that this device, when it turns on, it gets this uninitialized values from the memory, and then it very quickly zeroes it out. So the application, this unprivileged application, can run next. And when you turn off the device, the memory returns to its uninitialized state. So when you turn it on, you quickly write all zeros. When you turn it off, it returns to its uninitialized state. So together with a bunch of people from TU Darmstadt, we discovered that if you turn off the device for a very short amount of time, like milliseconds, some of the bits return to their default value, and the rest of the bits stay set to 0. So remember, the application, the bootloader of the device set all the bits to 0, so the attacker won't be able to get the secret fingerprint of the SRAM out of the SRAM. So if I turn it on very briefly, it's compatible. So if I turn it off for a long time, I get the real key. But if I turn it off for a short time, it's equivalent to firing the laser. So some of the bits get set to 0. Some of the bits return to the default values. Why would I need the fingerprint? If I want to steal, the fingerprint. Let's say this is like it's a fingerprint. I want to copy this fingerprint to another device. Okay, I want to make a counterfeit of this device. I want to authenticate as if I have the device in my possession, even though I don't have it, for example. So what you do with puffs is not relevant to this course. You have a lot of things to do with puffs. So what we did, we actually ran the Biham Shamir fault attack in reverse. So we were slowly letting we were kind of anti-lasering. So the longer we let the device rest after we turned it off, slowly more and more bits returned to their secret state. But if I did a really short reset, they will stay all zeros. So just to show you